dive in the fun right here. Episode 92 of From Everyone. I'm here with Mia Palazzo. Am I saying that right?
Yes, Palazzo.
Palazzo. I wasn't sure. Yeah, beautiful. Photography. So yes, plugs out of the way first here. If you're looking for a music video, I like to make something that is memorable and unique. So if you're interested in a music video in 2025, I think we're talking about like the summer of 2025 right now. So if you're listening and interested, let me know. If you're looking for photos for your show, portraits, promos, anything coming up, Mia is your woman. That is the person to have here. Mia, thank you for making the trip out here. Yes. Are you local to the area? Was this a big hike for you?
No, it wasn't too bad. It was like 30 minutes.
Beautiful. And I think you're going to UConn currently?
Yes, I do go to UConn.
Awesome. Is that up in Stores?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. That is where I did a year and a half of college, actually.
Oh, did you?
I did. I did a year and a half of school there. And then like after my year and a half was when I was like, I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah.
So I took a semester off, and in that semester, I got my camera, I lifeguarded, and I got an accounting internship.
Okay.
And of course, only one of those stuck, and the other two fell away. But
that's so fine though.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, it was a good like coming of age moment of me of being like, okay, I think I was supposed to do this. I went to college because I thought I was supposed to.
Yeah.
And then I got there and I was like, okay, I don't need to do what I'm supposed to. I need to do what feels right to me.
Yeah.
But it seems like you're more fulfilled by it. I think you're doing journalism and marketing, journalism.
Economics.
Economics.
Yes.
Okay. And how's that going for you?
It's going pretty good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Do those feel like they overlap for you?
Not at all. Oh, not in the slightest. Economics is kind of like a backup plan to journalism more than like I actually want to do economics. So
absolutely, it is useful though. I think I forget how much business was involved in this, and I didn't appreciate how much business went into the art stuff. And I'm sure you've learned in your first year that like there's unfortunately a lot of business, and that is part of it. Like all the gear costs money, and to keep growing the thing, you have to keep growing the budgets, and this becomes everlasting or never-ending cycle of shit of like. I feel like at this point, the purchases just get bigger and more expensive and more complicated to try and manage and budget in. So it feels like a really good background to try and have for you.
Yes, it is.
And then the journalism, I think, is mostly like photo related. Is that the big goal here?
Honestly, I do more written in journalism. I like photojournalism. Writing has kind of always been a strong suit for me, though.
Gotcha.
Like, I'd prefer to do photojournalism, but written journalism has more opportunities and money, so
that's always the challenge here.
Yeah.
And is the journalism mostly like music related, or is it like other life journalism, or
So at the moment, I actually am in an internship where I report on legislation at the Capitol.
Interesting.
So it's political, which isn't my favorite thing.
Sure.
In the slightest, but music journalism would be the goal.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to get into. It's a little bit of a dying industry, so we're doing our best.
Absolutely, yeah. There's always gonna be plenty of law stuff to write about. Of course, in this day and age, there's plenty of hot topics to write about in the political sphere. So eternal job opportunity for you. Yeah. I assume the music stuff would be great to get into. I remember when I was first getting into photos, like it was a lot of writing articles for publications, which for me was like dreadful. I really didn't like it. Where I understood it was kind of a necessary evil for me. Like if I wanted to go to the show, they needed an article, so it was kind of a happy medium. Sounds like for you, it's like a much better fit. Of like
I love it.
Okay.
I absolutely love it. That's honestly kind of how I started getting into journalism more.
Okay.
Was like writing show reviews, and I was like, this is kind of like I was already into writing, but I was like, I could do this as like a job.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's like it's a different thing writing show reviews, obviously, but like just the idea of writing was fun for me.
And you have to write about something that you're passionate about, which I think is the key there. Was like did the journalism like precede college? Were you like already going to shows and writing articles, or was this kind of something you fell into?
So I went into college into like the pre-teaching program at UConn. I was going to be a teacher, and then I was like, I don't want to do this. So it was kind of, I had a little period of like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Classic.
And then I did my gen eds, and then I had gone to shows for years and years, and like that was my thing. And I was like, I could take pictures. Like I had a camera from when I was younger. It was like a Rebel T6.
Sure, yeah.
Terrible for taking pictures at shows, by the way. But it worked. Like I made it work, and we got into it. And then I was like, journalism seems like an option. Yep. So I kind of went that route.
That's the hardest part. Is you mentioned the camera's bad, and it's like the industry of photo that we are in, every camera is bad for. Like every camera is made for daylight. It's made to be outside. It's made for pretty architecture. And like we have variable lighting. It's like, photo is lighting. That is all we are doing is capturing and documenting lighting.
Yep. And
of course we end up in this specialty where we have no control over the lighting. And the guy in control of the lighting often has no idea what he's doing either.
Yes.
So you end up with this, dilemma where I saw I'm jumping ahead here a little bit. I saw you recently did a show at the House of Blues. It was State Champ show.
Yes.
And that's one of those, like, I love shooting there because you can't take a bad photo.
Yeah.
Like at a venue of that size, like everything looks great. Life is easy, but most shows are not at the House of Blues.
Yeah. That show was great for lighting. All the bands were great. Like it was like ideal show. Like it was perfect. I don't even listen to half of the bands on the bill. I'm not gonna lie, but they're all great. They're all great, and like the vibes were good, so it just worked. I shot Slow Dive not too long ago. The lighting was like the worst thing I've ever seen in my
Where
life.
was this?
It was at College Street Music Hall.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That tracks.
It was so terrible. And I was like, specifically the opener, because they had a lot of like haze.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there editing and I was like, I can't do this. I was like, this is terrible.
I'm so envious that you have Lightroom's denoise now, though.
Yes.
Because my first show, so yeah, I guess going in order here. Your first show was January 13th, 2024. Mine was like January 6th or 8th, 2016.
Yeah.
So I didn't have denoise. And it's one of those that now that I have it, it's like, I don't know how we ever survive without this tool, because for a situation like that, it's impossible to survive without denoise. And it feels like, such a necessary tool at this point.
It is.
Beautiful. You mentioned that you had the camera like from early on. Were you like a 6-year-old taking a ton of photos? Did you get this in your teenage years? Like, where does the photo thing kind of start for you?
I don't even remember when I got the camera. I had it for like a million years.
Okay.
Like I got it at some point when I was a kid, and I maybe took like 6 pictures on it. Like when I went back to photography, I looked and there were legit 6 pictures on it. And like that was it. And that was just what I took on the camera.
Can I ask what those 6 photos were of? I assume it was a birthday cake. I assume it was a family, but it was something embarrassing that I would love to get to the bottom of here.
It was like a leaf, and then like my friend holding, she had a camera too. We were younger. It was like her like holding her camera, trying to look all like stylish and posy, and then like a couple more like awful nature pictures.
Of course,
yeah. They're so bad though. So awful.
They were, but they were the stepping stones to get to where you go.
Were.
So then is this like middle school, high school when you first get this, and then you kind of pick it up later on?
It was probably middle school.
Okay.
I honestly don't even...
That's a tough time to take photos and have to look back on those memories.
Yeah. I like don't even know where I put the camera. I found it in like my basement. I was like, I know it's somewhere. So I went looking for it, found it. And I was like, concerts. I do this. I can do that.
Yes.
So I luckily had a camera. That's all that mattered.
That's the hardest, first hurdles. Like even if it's $300, like $300 early on is not easy money to come across, and it is unfortunately an investment. Yeah. Is your like family artistic? Is there like someone else in your family who is creating art that kind of inspires this, or are you very much like a black sheep wandering into this universe?
So my grandfather did photography.
Very cool. Respect to that guy.
Yes, he was. His photos were actually really good, even though like in my lifetime when he was alive, he did a lot of like, just family stuff and whatever. But like the stuff that I saw from years and years, they were really good. Yeah. Like he was really good at it. My dad's super creative too, but he doesn't really do anything with it. Like it was more like back in the day. But I don't know, this kind of was just like concerts, I just like concerts.
That was the exact same way for me. I'm not musical at all, and I know there's a drum set behind doing guitars, and I don't know how to use any of them. I'm like the guitar I learned for like in like middle school and high school. I kind of decided, I loved music growing up, and so it was like, how do I get involved in this world? And guitar is the coolest, first, most accessible thing.
Yes.
I had Guitar Hero, so I was like, obviously I can play the real instrument if I can do this. And I quickly like started filming like covers of myself playing songs, and I was like, I like the filming and editing part of this way. Like learning the songs was a burden, but then I got to film and edit. I was like, okay, I probably should just like outsource the music part and stick to the camera part, and that made it work for me. Are you like musical at all? Was there any musical background?
So my dad played like drums and percussion and everything. So I grew up playing drums and percussion, but it was kind of like, I played it up until like middle school, and then I was kind of like, I can do other things.
Yes.
It was fun. I liked it, but it wasn't something that I wanted to just like continue doing.
Invest yourself into. Yeah.
Like it took a lot, and I was like, I can do other things that are more enjoyable to me.
Yeah. It's like, it's almost created like a sense of like imposter syndrome in me now, where it's like, I almost feel bad being around guys who are this musical of like, I shouldn't be. I should be more musical. I should know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I quite simply don't. Have you like battled that at all? Has that been a challenge for you?
A little bit. Not so much, honestly.
Like especially in that first concert, I remember showing up and just feeling like such a fish out of water. Like I'd been going to shows forever. Like I'd been in the world, but then showing up and like deciding that I was now a part of the world was like, who the fuck am I to be involved in this world?
No, I feel that. Especially like, I feel like for me it was more like as a photographer, because my first show was like the Opus Blizzard Bash.
Hell yeah, okay.
And
where was it?
Where was it?
Yeah.
Toads.
Okay.
And first time shooting at Toads, not the best place to start. Just gonna throw that out there, but super grateful I got that opportunity.
Of course.
Just gonna plug that. But I was like near, I don't know if you know like Holly and like all these great photographers that I knew what they were doing. And I was just like, I'm just a girl with a camera. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't even know like settings of the camera before I showed up. I just showed up and was like, I'm going to figure this out.
How did you get the pass? How did you get permission to shoot the thing?
So that one, I didn't know what I was doing. So I emailed Toad's Place. because they have like the email on the website, and I was like, hey, I'd love to shoot this, and she said she like sent it to Opus and he approved it. So it worked. Like, it was fine.
Mine was the same thing where I reached out to the band, and it was at the Webster Underground. So similar, yeah. I think I would rather be at Toad's Place in the Underground, but it's all the same. If you don't know what you're doing, they're all impossible to work with anyway. Like, it's all difficult to do.
Yep.
And yeah, in hindsight, the portfolio that I sent over was like, yeah, I got my camera, and then I had done like one like family gathering that I brought my camera to.
Yeah.
And those were the photos that I sent to the manager. And why they approved that to come shoot their band is like, I have no idea why they ever said yes to that, but thankfully they did.
At least they did.
It sounds like you had a similar experience of like underqualified, but someone said yes, so who cares?
I honestly didn't even send a portfolio. I was just like, I really want to get into this. Can I please? It
worked out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All it takes is someone to say yes to you one time, and it seems like you probably caught the bug after that, so to speak, and just fully got into it.
I was like super lucky because the next show after that, I was not at all in the local scene before this, so I was like, aim big, aim for the big shows, which is just not what you do when you get into this. But I had interviewed Chris Wiseman for a like English like 101 class that I took.
Okay.
We had to do like interviews, and I was like, I'm gonna do it about band people. So I interviewed Chris Wiseman. So like, he knew me.
How did that come to be? What is that experience? Like, what is? Yeah, I need the full story of how you went from hey Chris, I'm gonna interview you now.
Honestly, I don't even remember like the context of what the assignment was.
Okay.
I just knew I wanted to do it about like music. So I reached out to a bunch of musicians, and like whoever got back to me, I interviewed. But he was like super he was on tour in like Europe. So I don't know why he agreed to do this, because he definitely did not have the time.
He is the busiest man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But I was like so thankful that he had helped me with it. But I got an A on it. It was a great assignment. I did so good on it.
Was it via Zoom, I assume, then?
No. So we were supposed to Zoom, but he like didn't have the time. So I ended up just sending him the questions on email, and I was totally fine with that because it's Chris Wiseman.
Absolutely.
It's fine. He was still in there, but he actually went to UConn.
Yep.
And so he was like super like for it, passionate about it. But anyways, back to like this.
There's a million tangents here, so we'll wander down and come back. Yeah, no stress at all.
My second photo pass, I was like hit the Currents Shadow of Intent show at the Webster.
Yep.
I was like, hey Chris, just because like I knew him, and I was like, I don't know how else to get into shows because I didn't know about the whole like publication thing at first.
Yeah.
It's like, hey Chris, like it would be super great if like you could shoot this. I sent him the pictures I took from Toads, and they were so bad, and he still let me. He still gave me a photo pass. Was super nice about it, which I was super appreciative of. So that's how I kind of say I got my start, was like with him, because that was the first show that I actually knew what I was doing. Yeah.
He's the best. Yeah, everyone has a nice thing to say about Chris Wiseman.
Yes.
It like, makes me happy I'm not a close friend of him, but I know him, or I've known him for a little bit. And I remember seeing them in like all the VFWs growing up and all those kind of local shows, and to see them where they are now, and then to see Shadow pop up and do what it's doing, it's like power to that guy. Of course, he's got his own studio going. He's got a million different projects going. So it's incredible that he had the time and the kindness in his heart to like still make this thing work for you.
I was like, I reached out to a bunch of people, and he was like the one that I was like, he's probably not gonna, like, he's super busy in Europe. Totally didn't even expect him to like read the message, and I was so happy that he did, because like, not gonna lie, I'm a huge fan of Currents and Shadow of Intent, and I have been for a while. So I was like, this is so like, I fangirled a little bit. But,
as you should.
Yeah, right?
As you should. Yeah, I think that's the fun part is, we get the fortune of meeting some people that we look up to. And it's nice when the experiences go well.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately they don't always go well is one thing I've learned. But when you run across Chris Wiseman, who's that friendly and that accommodating, it's a beautiful and exciting thing.
Yep.
When did you like start getting into music? So I assume that this is something that, you've been listening to all through middle school, high school, just kind of like, do you remember going to your first concert? Like, what is that early journey of that like?
So my first concert was in 6th grade, and it was Meghan Trainor.
Okay.
Probably not the best introduction to like what I do now.
Yeah.
But great show. I went, she like didn't tour after that tour for like 8 years. And then she just came back to Mohegan, and I went, and it was amazing, just saying. But oh my God, I forgot the question.
So forgetting in music. So were you listening to metal growing up? What is your...
So my dad, he listened to like the older metal, not older metal, like older rock and stuff like that. So we started going to like, Stone Temple Pilots and Bush and like things like that. That was like 2018, 2017-ish. And then we ended up going to something. It was like a progression of like Shine Down and Papa Roach to like Beartooth and Motionless in White, and then I kind of just followed that progression, you know.
The bottom falls out so quickly. Of like you go from like palatable music that your family would be happy to listen to, and the next thing you know, it's Shadow of Intent, and it's like, I don't know how I got here, but I like it. So
honestly,
here I am.
He was super supportive of like the Motionless, and that he would come to the shows with me and like take me to the shows. And then it got to a point, I think actually Lorna Christmas was the show. It was in New Jersey. I don't remember what year it was. It was one of the Lorna Christmas shows.
Sure.
And I took him with me, and he was just so like, I can't do this anymore. Like, you need to start going on your own, which is totally fair. I totally get it. He like suffered through a lot to go to shows with me, so I was super appreciative. But that was just his like, I can't do this. This is loud and like a lot.
That's a big step up from Stone Temple Pilots also. Lorna is, off that deep end for sure. Not accessible to someone who listens to more generic, or not generic, maybe it's the wrong word, more, I don't know, arena rock, I guess, whatever the kinder term is there. I feel like generic is like passively offensive to them.
Yeah. I mean, but he listens to quite a bit, and like, he listens to metal, don't get me wrong, like Octane, that's like, that was his thing for a really long time.
Okay.
It was just the deathcore. The bridge into deathcore was just kind of where he fell off.
Yes. And that's where you fully got excited. You're like, okay, I think I'm onto something here.
Like deathcore, and then I got into slam, and he was like, what even is that? Like, I've never seen him so like actually confused by music. He was like, this is not... I love slam, but I get it. I get where he's coming from.
Yep. I've had to like fully accept of like, no, I know I'm the weird one. Like, I know for sure that like mathematically everyone else is right for listening to country and rap, and like Kendrick's cool. Yeah, Drake's cool. Like I'm okay. I'll entertain that for a minute. But I understand that everyone is a normal person for being involved in that, and we're just a little bit missing its little screw here somewhere in our brains.
Yeah. Honestly though, like I went and shot a country concert last year, and it was like the coolest thing I've ever done. I don't know why I decided to go shoot a country concert. I was just like, Jelly Roll was playing it.
This was Country's Calling, correct?
Yes, it was.
In Ocean City, Maryland. I just did Ocean's Calling.
Did you really?
So I was looking through those photos, and I was like, that's literally on my list to talk about, because I was like, we had the same experience.
Yes.
So yes, how did you end up there? That was down in Maryland,
It was.
Okay.
So this is terrible, and I need you to just bear with me for this story.
I'm here for the ride.
But I got a media pass to it, and no one told me that a media pass was different than a photo pass. It was on their website, but did I read that? No. So I showed up with my camera, and they just let me in with my camera. Yeah. So I like in my brain was like, oh, this means I'm shooting, like I'm chilling. And then I saw that their wristbands were different. And I was like, I am not shooting. So I ended up just like hanging in like the crowd and shooting it, which worked out so well. Like I had a 7200. I was fine.
Hell yeah. You were well prepared then.
Oh yeah, I was so ready for this. I was like, this is gonna be a great show. I got that lens for that show. Okay. Because I was gonna get good pictures. Like I was so excited for this show. But
that's a hike down too for an adventure. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Luckily, my dad actually came with me to that. I was like, you should like tag along. He hates country. Burning passion, absolutely hates it.
Sounds like most Octane listeners.
Yeah, but he likes Jelly Roll, so he was like, I'll join. I was like, dope, okay, let's go, let's do it. He did not enjoy his time. I did. I had so much fun. Yeah.
Were you there for more than one day?
I was there for 2 days.
Okay. Yeah. And how was that experience? My biggest problem there was the sand. It was just like a really like hostile, and hostil's the wrong word because it is friendly, it's big, and it's kind of, I'm assuming that the two festivals are laid out pretty similarly, where there's two main stages, and like the boardwalk is kind of the throughway between the two of them. Yeah. But yeah, negotiating the sand and just like the travel across the sand was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not built for it. And of course, our cameras don't love sand. It's the worst thing to try and get in all the cracks, and it gets everywhere. I feel like my camera bag was just full of sand, no matter how hard I tried to keep it clean.
I honestly couldn't imagine being like an actual photographer shooting that, like on assignment. Like I was talking to some of them, and they were like running back and forth between the stages and like sweating. It was so hot. And I was like, I'll just stick in my little like crowd, at the back.
Yes.
Didn't yours get like rained out or something? Yeah. Okay. So you got
I was thankful. I thankfully missed most of the rain. So I was there working for OAR, and OAR like performed before most of the rain. So I had a little bit of it. Blink-182 got like fully rained out, which was a disaster because I was the big headliner of the first night. And of course, Blink-182 is Blink-182.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare amount of rain for them, and it caused all kinds of like tech problems. And I think they had to cut the set early, which then pisses off all 50,000 people that are there. And it was just this whole thing that, thankfully I was back in my hotel editing by that point. But like, it was, not great for them, to say the least.
They were like, I think they were talking about it at like art festival. They were like, it was such a mess. And I was talking to one of the photographers. I can't remember who he was at all. Great dude. Don't remember who he was.
There's a lot of names and faces, and yeah, they all kind of blend together after a while.
But we were like on the Ferris wheel shooting like Jelly Roll, which was super awkward, by the way, because like they just put us together and a love song came on and we were both just sitting there like shooting, trying not to make eye contact.
I'm assuming the way you're telling the story makes me think he's probably someone your age, but it's a way funnier story if this is like a 65-year-old guy that you were paired up with for the love song.
It was definitely someone around my age, but it was still like I didn't know him, and then we were just on a Ferris wheel together, and I was like awkward, but okay. But he was like talking about your festival and how it just all went so far downhill so quick, and it was just they were like expecting the worst for this one, which luckily it went well. Very hot, but it went well.
Mine was freezing cold was the other problem, which like to me was like way better because I'm happier to put layers on, and like it made life a lot simpler than being a million degrees. Of course, then the sand isn't as hot, and like everything was simpler. But the weather was terrible. I'm trying to remember, like I think it was September, so like it should have been nice out. And it was just like a 50-degree weekend all weekend, and everyone was not too thrilled about it.
No, I'd imagine.
I'd prefer that to what it sounds like you experienced of the extreme heat and having to deal with that and survive it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Was that like the biggest festival you'd worked at, the biggest event that you'd worked so far?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that like compare to like the local shows? Like what was it like going from there and then coming back to the College Street music halls of the world?
Honestly, I kind of prefer the smaller shows.
Interesting. Okay.
Like it was super cool and super fun. I would absolutely do it again any chance that I got. Hopefully I do.
With the photo pass.
Yes, with the photo pass. Yeah. But I don't know, the smaller shows, I like the like energy of smaller shows better. Yeah. Like, and also I can't really compare because it was country and I've never shot like an actual country concert. But the energy of smaller shows is just like, I don't mind shooting Webster Underground.
Yeah.
I kind of dislike
you
it.
Might.
But like the energy is always just there, and like everybody knows each other and everybody's so nice, and like it's just, I don't know, it's just a nice little community.
That's what I fell in love with, was the community of it and the camaraderie of it all. And I think that we're almost like spoiled in the metal world because there's so much happening that there's always something to take a photo of. And whenever I'm at a country show or something like that, it's like I almost don't know what to do. Where it's like there's someone punch someone on stage, like headbang, like someone do something. And when you end up at a country show and everyone's much more like stoic and sentimental, it's like I can take one photo of this, but I don't know how to make a whole like gallery out of this where it feels limiting just because of the amount of energy that we're used to. Whereas of course someone who's always country all the time, they'll find new things to be excited about. But I feel like my threshold for excitement is somewhat different than what happens at a country show.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Interesting. Cool. So we start, I believe the other number that I saw here from your website from somewhere was that you did 56 shows in your first year.
I did.
Which is insane. Congratulations.
Thank
that
you.
is fully catching the bug is always a term I use that I feel like is an unflattering phrase, but I don't know what other phrase to use for that.
No, so fair.
So you do show one. What is like the learning process after that? So like I assume do the first show at College Street and you realize you don't know the settings. You realize you realize the amount of stuff you weren't aware of before that show. Are you then going into YouTube? Or are you asking people like what is the learning curve from there as you get ready for show two?
So between the Toad show and the show at the Webster, the Shadow of Intent show, I did not ask anybody anything. I did not talk to anybody. I'm very like antisocial, so I was like, I'm gonna just learn this on my own.
That's a hilarious thing to say into a microphone.
No, I know. No, on my way here, I was like, this is so crazy that I'm doing. I was like texting people like, this is so not me. Like,
I appreciate that. For what it's worth, it's not me at all either. Like I very much have to like forget that all this stuff's happening. I just talk to my friend and move on with my life because I like the other side of the camera way more. But it also is like to do this and not post it would be kind of insane as well. Right. So but I'm with you 100%. Yeah, the other side of the camera is way more comfortable. But thankfully I've had the benefit of 91 and a half episodes now.
So many.
To get cozy here. Thank you. But it certainly has not always been comfortable. So I empathize with you of like, this is not a place. Yeah, we like the other side of the camera. That's why we chose that side of the camera. Right. So then what's that learning curve between the first show at College Street and the Shadow Intent show?
So it was kind of just me like Googling like how to use camera settings. Honestly, I would say for the first like maybe 2 months of me shooting shows, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna feel so bad for saying it, but I had no clue what I was doing, and like the pictures were terrible, and I feel so bad for like everybody who gave me photo passes because the pictures were just so bad. Like I feel so bad. But
that feeling will never go away.
I know.
That's the best and worst part of this is like I still feel that way. And I believe that I've come a long way from day one, but you're always looking at the mountain. You're always looking at the next person and the next thing going, oh, I should have done this. I could have done this differently. I messed up this thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a tough thing to try and make peace with sometimes.
It is. But especially like those first few shows.
Sure.
It's like, but from like the first 2 months, it was very like, just learn the camera settings. That's all I need to do. And like the low light, especially, like I made the very bad mistake again of shooting bigger shows only. So then when I did go and shoot the like local shows or like the Webster Underground shows, I was like, this is awful. Like I don't know how to use like a camera in low light. And I did not shoot anything else. Like it was just concerts. Like I did not take my camera anywhere. I did not shoot anything. Another mistake, if you're going to do photography, take pictures of everything.
It all helps.
Yes.
Yeah, especially early on. It just, it's all that, composition is the same thing, whether it's a tree in the picture or a human being. And yeah, all these things, matter, especially early on when it's just about getting reps in and getting practice to learn the thing.
Yeah. But it really wasn't until like March I had met Ryan Early of Apostasy at the Toad show at the first one I shot. And he had given me the opportunity to shoot his shows locally. And then he had introduced me to a lot of people in the local scene. So he kind of got me into the local scene. I love him. I'm so appreciative of him. Like he's done so much for me in terms of like getting me into photography. It wasn't really until then that I actually started like being like, okay, this is something that I can like do and be serious about and like know how to do, you know? So I started taking it super seriously. And from there, it was just kind of like an upwards progression.
Where can I go next?
Yes.
And just constant search of whatever show is, I'm going to show up there and I'll meet someone and it'll go well.
Yep.
Yes. Was that like, what was that learning? Was it a rewarding learning process? Was it defeating? Like, how did you feel? How did you approach that like first 2 months? Was it like, were you beating yourself up after it? Or was it all like I did good, how can I do better? Like, what was your kind of a mindset through that all?
Honestly, for me, it was very like, I did good, I can do better. Like, I shot Angel Maker at the Webster Underground in like February or
chaos,
March.
Yeah.
Like I knew what I was getting myself into. It was like Angel Maker with, I don't even know who it was with, but it was a chaotic show.
Yes.
And I was like, I got this, can totally do. I could not do it. Like I was scared for my camera. I was scared for me because I was trying to like get in there. But it was pretty. It was just keep trying, keep doing it, and like I was like, I know I can be good at this. It's just what it takes to get there, which was shoot every show. Conveniently, I already went to like an absurd amount of shows every year. So it was like, what shows would I already be going to? Let me get a photo pass to it.
Yes.
So
of course, I think, does Webster Underground still not have a photo pass policy? I think you can still walk in.
No.
That you do need a photo pass now. That's a bummer.
Okay. It is.
Yes.
I would have totally, I went to Cane Hill last night and I totally would have shot it, but it's a long story why I didn't. But couldn't shoot it. If they didn't have a policy, I absolutely would have.
That's a bummer.
It would make everything so much easier.
It certainly did. Yeah. That was an advantage I had. Yeah, the Webster in the last year or two has changed ownership and gone through a whole host of changes that I think people have a lot of mixed opinions on, to say the very least about. But yeah, certainly, when I was getting started, the Webster was a great home for me because it was like there's plenty of shows there and there's no photo pass, so I could go walk in. I remember like quickly realizing that like all the shows that I'd gone to as a fan were like sold out shows because the things that I like, other people like.
Yeah.
And then as I was just showing up to shows, like, oh, there's shows that have 20 people there sometimes. And it was just like a eye-opening thing of like, oh, I didn't realize how many shows there were and how different the audiences were.
Yeah.
Was that like, when did you branch out from going to shows that like you wanted to go to just like, I need to shoot, so I'll go to this show anyway?
Honestly, this is going to sound terrible.
Okay.
And I promise I love my local people. But it was just local shows. Like if I don't like a band, I'm not going to go shoot the show.
Okay.
And that's kind of just how I've always been because I like so many bands and so many different types of music. There's always something for me to do. But getting into the local scene was a little hard because I did not listen to local bands. I didn't know anything about the local scene. And they're all great, super accommodating, super helpful, all very nice people.
But they're different than Beartooth.
Yes, right. It was very interesting trying to get into it and like learn the ways of the local scene, especially in Connecticut. I feel like it's where we have a little bit of an interesting scene. It's very like separated but together.
Interesting. Okay.
But that was kind of my only
In what way does it feel separated to you? Like, do you mean like the people aren't united? Like there's a lot of different genres going on? Like what feels separated to you?
It's very just like all the genres kind of have their own like cliques.
Yes.
But they all know each other and they're all like chill, but they all kind of go to like the same shows together, and then they're like, oh yeah, we're chill homies, and then it's like, you know.
That is one of a challenge that I ran into is like, I feel like I'm Switzerland, I guess in the political example of like everyone has an issue with someone. Like it feels like a high school dynamic where it just, there's too many people with too many egos involved and everyone's got a bad story about someone.
Yes.
And then I have to feel like I have to be Switzerland of like, well, he didn't do that to me. And of course, there's places we have to draw a line of like, if he punched you in the face, we can have a different conversation or whatever, that more egregious violation. But it's like, if you just don't like the guy, I have to shoot his band. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't like him, then that's a conversation. But it is this weird like politic negotiation. I guess maybe you're the perfect candidate then of all politics practice. But it is, almost feels political at times of like, I know you don't like that guy because he's dating your ex-girlfriend, but I can't not like him because he's dating your ex-girlfriend. I bet you for like, this isn't a valid thing for me to pass judgment on.
Right. I feel like as a photographer, it's like super interesting because people tend to tell you like everything.
Oh yeah.
Which is so
the
fine.
Best part.
I'm so here for that. But like you're telling me things and expecting me to like take your side, but also like I still have to shoot their band and like they're telling me things and then it's like, I'm not here. I will listen to what you have to say. I won't say anything about it. But at the end of the day, like I like their band, I like your band, I'm gonna shoot both of them.
Yes.
And like that's that.
Yeah, you're right. There are so many like little petty squabbles that we get caught in the middle of. But I do love that we get to like be the fly on the wall. I think I really enjoy that part of like, I get to hear all the tea and not really be involved in it. I guess there is also photographer tea at times and other tiny conflicts that come up. But I think I've tried to do my best to actively avoid that of like, I don't shoot them. Like it doesn't hurt me if you shoot them, or like I need to be very vague here and not use names, but like I have a good friend of mine who like had an issue with another friend of mine because friend A was like, well, I work with that band, so you can't take photos of them. And it's like, yes, I can. Like just because they paid you one time doesn't mean that friend B can't also work with them. Like it's this weird, territorial kind of thing that starts to happen. It's like, this isn't real. Like there is no competition here. We're all on the same team trying to do the same thing here. There's no need to try and gatekeep and keep people out of the world. I'm
like very lucky to have not experienced that yet.
Sure.
But I've talked to, especially like touring photographers, and they'll be like, like this person, like we have problems because like they started shooting the band. And I'm like, but like, you know, it's kind of like the band's preference and it's not anything you can help or like you can fix. And if that's who they want to go with, then that's who they're going to go with. And tour is also very complicated, or adds a complication here because we're talking about a month of work, basically. Right. Yeah. And that's where it gets very strange of like, just because they worked with you this month doesn't mean they're going to work with you next month. Right. And it becomes a world of like, I always say it's like a world of like, what have you done for me lately? Yeah. So just because I worked with you 6 months ago, if I've been working for someone else in the last 5 months since then, it doesn't make sense to go back to where you were. I'm going to stick with what's working for us now. Yeah. And that breeds all kinds of issues as times change and people change. And if you say no to a gig, then all of a sudden the next one pops up and you're not the first person on the list anymore because they've kind of moved on. Yeah. And it can be challenging at times to say the least. But the flip side is, we do get to be in the middle and hear all the good gossip about all the good tea and all the good stuff happening. And it's kind of nice. Has it like changed the way that you like interact with the music scene? Like I think as I got involved with it and started to learn about more of the behind the scenes stuff, like I would love to say that I'm still as much a fan as I ever was, and I think I am still a fan of it. But certainly as you learn some of the politics, you start to see things in a little bit different light and feel differently about things. Like have you felt like you're getting jaded at all, or has it all been still exciting and new for you? I honestly don't think so. I feel like every show has its own kind of little quirks and things, and again, I go to shows I want to go to and like I shoot what I want to. So it's always exciting because it's like, I like that band, I'm going to go shoot it. And it's like, nothing's going to stop me from enjoying that, you know? Yeah. Yeah. It's the best excuse to go to concerts of like before just a waste of money. Now it's like, maybe still a waste of money, but I get to pursue my dream doing it. So it feels more justified, more exciting to go to. Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. So then in the first year of shows, what stands out as like a highlight of you, a highlight for you? So in the first year of shows, is there a show that you shot that you were like, damn, that was the one, that was the coolest thing I'm glad I got to see that band. I got to go see the thing where like, for me, in one of my first years, I got to go see Good Charlotte, which to me was like my bucket list. Like that was my 6-year-old, like that is the band. Yeah. And then to be as an adult and get a photo pass to go see them was like, oh, hell yeah, I made it. Yeah. Like was there a moment for you in your first year that you got to see the band that you've loved your whole life, something that really felt exciting to you? Honestly, like shooting Jelly Roll was really cool, even though I wasn't technically supposed to. I still did, and it was really cool. Yeah. Not really though. Like, I don't know. I kind of just am here and like I like so many, like I said, I like so many different bands and so many different things that it's like every experience kind of had its own little quirks and like its cool things. And like especially when you get to like interact with the bands, it's like, cool, I've been following you for like 4 years and now we're just like chatting like it's nothing, you know? Or like if you're shooting, like I'll shoot a lot of like local bands that play at the Palladium upstairs, and I'll be like hanging in the little, you know, like backstage area, and the bands will be walking through and say what up, and I'm like,
the stairs
yeah,
part?
like the balcony.
Yep.
And like the bands will walk through and they'll like chit chat and stuff, and I'm like, oh, like this is like nothing. And like if that happened like 2 years ago, I would have been like low key fangirling, you know?
Yep.
So it's just like super cool kind of little change of scenery.
Absolutely. What would be like a monumental band? Is there some band from high school that you loved more than anything in the world that getting to shoot them would be a real actualizing moment for you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
That's a humble answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the right answer, but
I think everybody kind of has, not everybody, but like
everybody's a very big term. Yeah.
Most of the bands that I would go shoot are like, they're bands that I'm passionate about and like I think is really cool. I do think Mudvayne was really cool, even though I never listened to Mudvayne, like didn't listen to them growing up. My dad didn't care for them, so they were never on.
Gotcha.
One of my friends like reintroduced me to that. Like I knew they existed, but then he likes them, so he reintroduced me to them. And then I was like, let me go shoot them in like random ass place in Pennsylvania. And it was honestly like the best thing ever. Like it was super cool, and not even because like I don't really like them like that.
Sure.
Like they're cool.
Yeah.
I like the music, I'll listen to it, but like just like his like face paint and like their energy is super cool, and it was an outdoor venue, so the lighting was like really nice.
Outdoors
you know?
the best. Yeah.
Anything outdoors, love that.
Yes.
The lighting was super nice, and it was honestly just a really good it was raining, so it wasn't a good experience, but like band wise, the pictures came out really cool, and those were like the first pictures I was like actually really proud of. So I was like, that would probably be my like, not because I like them, but because like it was cool.
Yeah.
You know?
I had the same feeling when I shot Motionless in White for the first time of like, they're just so theatrical that it made life so much easier. And they were ready to be taking photos of. Where some bands, it's like, I could tell you haven't showered in a couple days. Like it's pretty obvious. Or like there's one band that I'll happily tell you off air, and I don't want to say it into a microphone, but like the guy came out on stage and like the entire photo pit was like uninhabitable. Like this guy, I had never encountered a human being that could smell that bad. And it's like, I get that when you've been on tour for this long, but it was a real like eye-opening thing of like, oh, I love this band, but I don't want to be in the photo pit anymore. Like this is not a comfortable place to be.
I definitely have had that moment. Again, I will not. But I was like in the photo pit, and I wasn't even supposed to get a photo pass. The PR people had like made a mistake and accidentally gave it to me instead of someone else. And like I showed up and I had the email, and I was like, I'm here. So they were like, whatever, go shoot it. And like it was one of the openers, and I had never listened to them, but I like knew of them. And the next time I shot them, they weren't like this. So it was just a one-time thing. But it was like he flipped his hair and it was wet and he smelled and it got on me, and I was so repulsed. I was like, I can't do this because it was just, this is gross. It's just gross.
Yes.
I couldn't.
I worked in summer camps for a while, and I feel like summer camp and like working with kids in that capacity like desensitized me to like spit and drool and snot, and it's just like it all gets on you at some point in summer camp. That's part of the job. Yeah. And then by the time I got into a photo pit, it's like it was no longer gross to get spit on, or like when they spit water into the crowd, it's like we're in the splash zone. Like that really just gets all over us. Yeah. And it's one of those like, disgusting things that you have to somehow make peace with. And thankfully I was desensitized to it by adorable 4-year-old. So by the time a grown man did, I was like,
so fair.
I'll survive this. Yeah. But it is a weird quirk. Yeah. What else was like surprising to you as you got into this? So you kind of got in very blind, it sounds like, and you had to learn all the settings and figure out the world, so to speak. Was like the process of getting photo passes very confusing to you? Like what was something that really surprised you as you got into this world?
So getting photo passes became really easy really quick.
Good for you. Okay.
I did the Opus show, and then I did the Shadow of Intent show, and then I reached out to 2 publications who both decided to take me on based on like nothing, which was super cool, super appreciative. One of them kind of died off. I still work with the other one. Great people, but they both made it really easy because they took care of it. Like,
awesome.
It's super interesting working with publications because sometimes they'll be like, we'll take care of it, we'll deal with everything, like whatever. Some of them make you do it, which was shocking to me. Was like, I only ever had like publications that would like do it for me. And then I got one publication that was like, yeah, find the PR person, email them. And I was like, oh, I was like, I don't know how to do that. So that was a cool thing to learn. Not cool. Interesting thing to learn.
Yeah.
But honestly, that was a pretty easy process for me. And like, that's how I got the Angel Maker show. I think that was my first like photo pass show. Everything has been pretty like cut and dry. Like I've been figuring out, you know.
That's it. Yeah. Unfortunately, the hard way is the only way to learn sometimes. You just have to go through the things and figure it out. Yeah. One thing that's always like surprised or one thing that's fascinating about this industry is like there's no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And so what that means is like to be a doctor, you have to go to medical school. And that doesn't mean that every doctor is a good doctor, but it means that there's some like baseline of humanity that they have to have achieved or proved to get the job. Whereas to have a publication, you just need to go on Squarespace, pay $100 for your URL, and now your publication. And so that creates this scenario where, some of them are going to be incredible and very helpful for you.
Yeah.
And some of them are going to say, fucking do work for us. And it's like, no, that's not how this thing is supposed to work here. If I'm gonna, if I'm gonna help you, then help me. I can't do all the legwork and you get the credit for this. That's a bullshit relationship to try and form there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so it sounds like the publications all went well. Sounds great. Okay, what was like a challenge? Was there anything that like stuck out for you as something that was like a hard thing to try and overcome in the first year? As you look back on the shows, like was there a technique that was very hard? Was it hard to like make friends with the local bands? My memory is that the local bands are often accommodating, but again, they don't always know what to ask or what's kosher. And sometimes they'll say, "Hey, can you do this?" And it's like, "No, the fuck, I can't do that." Or these kind of relationships are tough to navigate. What was like a challenge for you that you had to overcome in the last year?
I honestly didn't have a lot of. Obviously, I had a lot of challenges, but there weren't any that really stood out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very like go with the flow. Whatever happens,
That's
happens.
the key. Yeah.
Honestly, my biggest thing has just been like communication with local bands is kind of like a little iffy at times, which is kind of. I'm a big communication person. If you're not going to talk to me, like I'm not going to want to work with you. Otherwise, everything's been pretty like just go with the flow, see what happens. Like I don't know. Nothing's really been like super bothersome.
That's kind of the key though, is like being that flexible with it because nothing is going to go to plan. Or like I have memories of like getting the photo pass and I should be on the list and show up and the front office is like, you're not on the list. And it's
so
like,
many times.
Well, what do you mean? Here's the email. And they go, well, the email's not good enough. I need the list because the email could be photoshopped, whatever. It could be fake. And if you had a couple of those.
I have dealt with that more times than I like, specifically at the Palladium, and I love the Palladium, but I'm just never on and it's not them, it's like the managers.
It's for sure someone like, there,
I'm not saying anything, but it's like every time I have a photo pass there, they're like, we don't have you, and I'll like show them the email. But I went to, actually, I think it was the State Champ show. No, it wasn't. It was whatever I shot there after that. I don't know, some show at the House of Blues. Not to like call them out. I've never had a bad experience before this show, but I had submitted for a photo pass. I had gotten approved for it. So I went to the box office to pick it up. They were like, we don't have it. I was like, cool, dope, no problem. Like, let me show you the email. They were like, we don't want the email. We can't do anything with it. And I was like, so what do you want me to do? And the woman was literally like, I can't tell you what to do. Like, it's not my problem. And I was like, she was like, do whatever you would normally do. And I was like, I would normally show you the email and you would figure it out. I was like, can I talk to your manager? Like, she was like, no. So it ended up being a whole thing. I went to the person I was writing for and I was like, hey, like they're not helping. Like they're not doing anything. And he ended up like calling and like pretty much ripping them a new one. I love him dearly because he does not, he's like an older gentleman and he just does not care.
Sometimes you need someone in your corner who has nothing to lose in that sense. Yeah.
So he ended up talking with them for lack of better terms, and
they came to an agreement.
But he had said like I didn't have an email, didn't want to show them anything, and that I was like didn't know who I was writing for, and I was like whatever, like didn't know who I was, and I was like that's crazy because like none of that happened. So they're kind of a little op-listed for me right now. I'm not gonna lie, but
you went from I had no challenges to I have an op list.
Okay. That one time, that one thing. But I never had a problem with them before. Like, I try not to make it a big deal. That was just kind of irritating because they were like, if you're having a problem, I get it. And like, you can't solve it. That's fine. I get it. Like, I understand you're doing your job. But like, to tell me I'm lying, that's a little harsh, you know? But it ended up working out and I got the photo pass and I got in. I think it was just aggravating to me. And like, I don't get aggravated a lot. So I say that. But
We're all entitled to it sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's valid. Yeah.
I think the only reason it was really aggravating is because it was really cold out. I was like,
the only time I haven't had a photo pass, it was raining or freezing or
Yes.
snowing or like, there was never a time where it was like, oh, I'm happy to be outside for a few minutes now. Yeah.
It was like, I think it was like 12 degrees. And I was like standing outside and they just weren't being helpful. And I was like, I hadn't eaten. I was like, I was in Boston. I hate Boston.
Okay.
Like, this might be a hot take, but I think Boston is like the worst city in New England.
Okay.
So I was just genuinely aggravated already to be there. But it ended up working out. I got a photo pass, and then there was like a sausage vendor outside of House of Blues. Okay. And I went to get a sausage after the show because I was still a little mad, I'm gonna be honest, a little salty.
Yep.
And some dude paid for my hot dog or my sausage, and it just made my night. Like, it just made everything so much better. So like, that's why I'm not super mad about that situation, but it was still aggravating.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's funny how those little moments are the ones that you end up remembering more.
Yeah.
Like I feel like in 10 years, you're gonna remember the sausage more than the guy who made you mad the photo fit or whatever.
Absolutely.
The pass. Yeah, those things, those little moments really do stick out and really do mean a lot. And yeah, I think it's part of the fun of the adventure here. It's like, it is always an adventure. There is never a show that is not an adventure in one way or another, or like there's always some gear that goes wrong, or like my flash like literally blew up one time. Oh. And it was one of those of like, how does this, I think what happened is like the batteries inside had leaked, so like that acid and then get like something.
Yeah.
But like, I have my external flash, and I put on my friend's cab, and we're carrying the cab like backstage at the Palladium upstairs actually. And as we're carrying it, the thing just, and there's like 500 pieces of flash. It was one of those like, how is this possible? Like, how could this possibly have come to be? And it was a friend that I like just met, and I was like, trying to pretend that I knew what I was doing, trying to fake it till I make it, of course. And to have my gear literally explode in front of us was like, oh yeah, I clearly don't know what I'm doing. I'm very much out of control in this moment, but that's all you can do sometimes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. So then as you, couple of different, my brain goes like 10 different directions. It's like, all right, which direction do I want to pick right now? So I guess other piece of concerts then is like moving forward, I think video is the other big challenge that gets introduced to people. Where is this an interesting world to you? Is this one that you're like, I want to be a photo and video can go die in a hole and it's someone else's problem? Like, where are you kind of on the spectrum?
I would love to say that video can go die in a hole because I'm really bad at it. Sure. Like, I've tried. I really have, but I'm really bad at like computers. Okay. So when it gets to like the editing part of the video, you completely lose me. Like, I can't do it. But I kind of want to like...
Haven't done it.
I'll get there eventually. I was actually just talking to someone about this today. I was like, I'm trying, I'm learning, but like I'm going to prioritize photo. Of course, and like that'll be like a kind of back burner thing. But like, I feel like video is so important. And I feel like I need to get into it. It's just so hard for no reason. It's so hard. Yeah. But I'll get there. I'll get there.
I always, to me, it's like an exponential curve of like the photo happens and then the video is like, okay, you take all the skills from photo, now you have to learn how to connect these images in real time, and the editing feels like similarly intricate, which I think is what I ended up liking about it. But I recognize that, everyone's brain is wired different. And I have one of my friends who's a photo person who like is the same way, where to me, like photo almost felt tedious after a while of like it felt like I had to make 100 different art projects, and then video was like, oh, I only have to make one art project here. This is so much easier than 100 different art projects and edits. Yeah. But of course, it also, there's a lot more freedom in photo because of that, because you get 100 different photos or 100 different individual things you get to create. So you get to experiment, have fun with them. Whereas video, it's like, there's only one thing here. So there's a lot less room for experimentation. It kind of has to be, I don't know, more succinct, more connected. And that means everything has to be more detailed and rich. And it gets intricate very quick in that sense. Yeah. Is that like something you'd hope to get into? Is that part of the plan? And no is also the correct answer here.
I wouldn't say I hope to. I'm going to say I need to, and I'm going to eventually get into it. Like the goal is to like go on at least one tour in my life. Sure. And I feel like at least right now more than ever, like being able to do photo and video is so important for that. Unfortunately, yeah. So I'll get there. Yeah. I'll learn.
I think it's also shitty that it's like you end up going on tour and having to do 2 jobs. Where is the other difficult part, and that's something that I'm not great at. Like I have friends who do that and they love it, and to me it's like it's mind-numbing to swap between photo and video, because my brain ends up forgetting, like, what did I get a photo of? Yeah. What did I take a video of? And like these two like folders in my brain are just not separated. Yeah. And I have friends who are on tour, and it's like that's what they do every time, and they would tell me I'm being dumb for not being able to separate that. And it's like, I don't know, my brain just can't do it. I like doing one or the other, and it's rare that I do both, and I don't usually love the experience when I do both. But you're right, it is the standard now for going on tour and traveling, and it's just easier to have one person in the van than 2 people, and less expensive. And obviously, money is always tight in this world, unfortunately, in this industry specifically. Yes. Cool. Okay. So then there's also, that's all music photo stuff. There's also like portraits and promos that you're doing outside of this. Promos to me kind of falls into the concert stuff.
Yeah.
Portraits feels like a totally different venture here. Is like weddings interesting to you? Is like getting into the portrait stuff more? Or is that more of like a, if my friend wants photos, I'll do it, but I'm not looking to grow that side of me too much?
I think I would like to do portrait stuff. I don't make time for it, which is kind of where it goes away.
Sure.
Because I'm like, I could go take pictures of like some random people, or I could go to a concert. Like it ends up being a concert every time.
Yep.
So it's more of like, I just don't make time for it. Like the portrait stuff that I've done currently has all been like friends or like people that I know or people that, you know, people I know.
Sure.
So that's kind of an area where I need to like kind of take a minute from concerts and be like, let me expand my horizons. I think in the money aspect, if I wanted to like start actually making this a thing, I would probably go more portrait wedding, but like especially while I'm in college, this is kind of just like, I enjoy doing this. I want to have fun with it because like I don't have time for anything else.
Yeah, 100%. Weddings are where the money is, but I'm like you, where it's like it was just never that appealing. I've done a couple of them and I've done them for friends, and like when I did them for friends, they were all friends who were like, we want a music person to come do this. We don't want like standard plain Jane like white picket fence kind of photography. We want something that's gritty and edgy, and we want that. So that like felt like a good fit for me, or one where it's like, yeah, of course, if my friend's getting married and says, hey, can you come do this? I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it never felt like a avenue to me that was super enticing, where I was always kind of happy. And yeah, the music world, and that felt like home to me. It sounds like you're saying the same thing. Of like, yeah, you're happy in the concert world, and that's really where you're hoping to keep growing and spending more of your time here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah. Cool. What else I got here? Big awkward silence there. My brain just farted so bad. So I think that, going forward here is getting into video, possibly. Yeah. Any other like big challenge? You mentioned going on tour someday. Is there like a goal for that? Is there like any local bands that you've talked to about possibly going on tour? Is there any hopes of that working out?
As for local bands, it's been like a conversation with a couple, but not anything super like, actually let's do it. It's hard because I'm done with school in December. Okay. So
nice semester early then?
Yes.
Congratulations. Yes.
Thank you. Totally just lost my train of thought.
It's okay. So tour may happen. We're done with school in December, so maybe afterwards tour is possible.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is like, I would totally do like a summer tour if I could, but that's not really too big of a thing, especially with local bands. I feel like they don't really do that. I'm also, again, really antisocial. So like talking to people, like I'll go shoot all of these bands and I don't, like I'll say hi to them at shows and it's so bad. Like I need to be better at being like, hey, like talking it up with people. But I'm very like, hey, I'll send you your pictures. And then I'm like kind of, and I feel bad because like I want to be friends with them and I want to be social. And like the people that know me in the scene know that like I'll talk to you if we talk, but like I will never approach someone. And that's kind of where my downfall is.
Sure.
But tour, yes. I would love to go on tour.
I have the same thing where I am bad at approaching people. One strategy that I took, and I'm curious, I guess my question here is like, what have you done to overcome that and try and work through it? One thing for me that I did was I would print out like thousands of business cards and just have a huge stack of them. And I would go up to anyone at the show, anyone in line, and say, hi, my name is Peter. I'm taking photos tonight. If you want to see them, here's the link. And like going, and like obviously it's so awkward to go interrupt conversations, and like it sucked. It was so I dreaded doing it.
Right.
But it was like the only way that I was going to get comfortable talking to people and selling myself was talking to people and selling myself. And the business card was like a nice like physical thing of like, I'm going to give this to you, I'm going to walk away and you'll never see me again. Sorry for bothering you. But it felt like it really helped me get comfortable and like, approaching people. And of course, then the flip side is like, then when you walk up to the merch booth and you say the band and say, hey, if you ever need someone here, and that conversation is so much easier once you've had it with 100 people in line that day. When that's conversation 101, it's so much easier. Whereas when I would go and just like keep to myself and try not to bother anyone, trying to go have that first conversation was impossible because I haven't talked to anyone all night. Yeah. And you're right. Like, as we go to these shows, like I think, you find friends, you meet people, but also plenty of times like this is an independent thing. Like we don't have bandmates to come with us. Like we are representing ourselves. We are the only thing there. Have you like tried to work on this? Have you found success in trying to branch out, or like is it still something that we're in the learning curve of?
Every like once in a while, I'll be like super social at shows, and I'll like, especially like bigger shows, like I'll take pictures of people like on the barricade and everything, and I'll be like, I have business cards too. I'll be like, hey, if you want to see the picture, I'll give them the card. But for the most part, it's been a lot of like just staying to myself. Like last night at the show, all of the bands are at the merch tables, and I was like, I should like go talk to them, you know, if they ever need a photographer. I was like, spring break, I'm going to Texas, and ironically, that tour is going to be in Texas.
Very cool. Which
where
tour?
I'm going. It's the
the Cane Hill one?
Okay,
yeah. Gotcha.
I was like, I could like go shoot it in Texas. That would be kind of cool. And then I just didn't go talk to them. Like I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something I still need to overcome.
Yep.
And that's again something that a lot of people tell me. They're like, you need to start like talking to people. And I'm like, I know, but also like that requires talking to people.
It does.
But it's so interesting because like, especially being in journalism, like I talk to so many people. Like I walk around the Capitol with these like people in their fancy suits and stuff, and I will just go straight into their conversation and be like, hey, can I have a comment on this, please? And then I get to like a metal show and I'm like, they're doing their thing, they're vibing. I don't need to interrupt them. So it's like interesting.
That is fascinating that we have like the reverence for the smelly guy dressed in all black and covered in tattoos, but the guy in the suit and tie who's manicured and drove a Mercedes to the building is like totally accessible and someone we're happy to go up to.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. It feels like that would like benefit you, or it feels like the political side or having experience of it would benefit you and like is a good way to like get your foot into this.
Yeah.
I think the other argument for business cards that I would offer is like what I found is that like very few people checked out the business card the first time.
Yeah.
But the people who go to the website, people who go to these shows are the same people often.
Yeah.
And by the fifth time you give them their business card, they're going to check it out.
Yeah.
And even now, like I had someone reach out the other day of like, oh shit, you gave me your business card at the Palladium 10 years ago. And then it was like,
that's sick.
it worked.
I love
it's still
that.
paying dividends. It is still like, I gave out enough business cards that 10 years later, someone is still going, oh yeah. And again, the first one they threw away. The second one they threw away. The third one they threw away.
Yep.
At a certain point, it's like, who the fuck is this guy who keeps showing up, he keeps doing this thing, and it becomes worth checking out. And I think for you, it's a similar thing of like, yeah, the merch table may not go great the first time, but when you say hi to them and they come back again in next year and you say hi to them again, and the third time it's like, who the fuck is this girl that's always here? Let me go look into her stuff and see what's cooking there.
Yeah.
It feels like the legislature stuff would be like a great like gateway practice for this. Do you feel like it's benefited you? Like it feels like a good experience to approach uncomfortable people, foreign people, and try and open conversations with them.
I feel like in theory it should.
Okay.
Me personally, with the level of antisocial I am, it does not help me at all. I'm just very like, I don't want to bother, because when I went to shows, I was very like, stand in the back, don't come up to me, don't bother me. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I just want to enjoy my show. So I feel like now going up to people is so hard because like I had that kind of mindset.
Sure.
But going to venue, like I love going to Webster Underground, and that's such a crazy thing to say, something I never thought I would say, but I love shooting at the Webster Underground because like it's all the same people. So they all know me, and then it's like they'll bring their friends and like introduce me to their friends, and like that's kind of how I branch out. Yep. And it's the same thing with like the Palladium, or like someone will see me with a camera and be like, hey, like you're a photographer. Actually, College Street shooting like indie bands that play there, everybody will talk to you. Like they will see your camera and they're all like really artsy, creative people. And I've literally just been standing there and people will be like, oh my God, you're a photographer. And like gotten their whole groups like Instagrams. Like all follow me.
How many people have pulled out their phone and go, look at this photo of a sunrise I took. Look at this picture of my dog.
So many people.
Those
like,
conversations are tough sometimes.
Yeah. They're like, I'm a photographer. I felt so bad. I was talking to someone at the last College Street show, the Slow Dive show. And he was like an older dude. And he was like, yeah, I'm a photographer. And we were like talking about it. And he had really good equipment. And then he was like, I was like, oh, do you have like Instagram? I'd love to, follow you, whatever. He pulled it out and it was just like, it was just imagine what those pictures, it was just like pictures of trees and like bushes and flowers. And I was like, that's cool. I'll follow you still. Like, I'll support it. But it's like that interesting, like your photographer is like passion or like you do photography.
Yeah. What are you here for?
Yeah.
At this point, like I don't like telling people what I do because whenever I say I work with a camera, they go, yeah, look at my dog, look at whatever. And so, at this point, like if I'm on a plane and the person next to me says, hey, what do you do for work? I go, I'm in insurance. It's like, it's just so much easier just to not open the can of worms. Or like I got into golf this past summer. And so I would golf with like random times because I'm terrible, so it's easy to go when the course is empty. And you get paired up with like retired people. Yeah. They go, oh, what do you do? And it's like, I'm in insurance. Like I'm never gonna explain to you this metal world that I'm in and how I've made a living doing this. Like it's just you won't get it. It's just easier for everyone if we just move on from this conversation.
Yeah. I'm like in journalism when I like go into new journalism classes and like meet new professors. My professors have a tendency to like talk to other professors about me and be like, she does photojournalism, like super cool thing, but they don't like see the work that I do. So I had one professor that like followed me on Instagram, right? And then she started talking to like the other professors in the department about like my work. Okay. And it was the most awkward thing because I have like hardcore bands. But I also have like Chicago, you know, like the dichotomy of my Instagram profile is insane. So she approached me one day and she was like, I saw this show. I can't even think of what show it was. It was Knock Loose, right? That's like those pictures. And she was like, I saw this show and it was just like really interesting. Like, what is happening? And I had to explain to her like what it kind of was because they knew I shot concerts, most of them. But I pretty much just showed them the pictures of Chicago. Yeah. Like, I did not show them anything else.
You curated like, what you were sharing for you knew they would like, yeah.
So she was like, what is happening here? They're all, like, older professors. And I was like, I can show you if you want. So we ended up watching the video of Knock Loose and Poppy. When
I was going to say, the Jimmy Kimmel perfect, yeah.
So that didn't go over well. She thought it was the worst thing she's ever heard. Like,
and she's probably right.
No, right? She did like, or he did the like pig squeal thing and she literally looked terrified. Like, absolutely terrified. I felt so bad. I was like, but like she asked, you know? Yep. So I think that's an interesting
100%.
Yeah.
I think the other piece of this is like you mentioned that like people come up to you with a camera and say, yeah, I'm this. And I'm like, I'm always surprised. The camera feels like a golden retriever that you walk around with, where everyone is like, that's cool. How do I talk to you? Yeah. The other part of this that surprises me is like at the Webster Underground specifically is like, I feel like being front row means that I'm going to get punched and crowd surfed on and beat up. And it's like, people are surprisingly respectful of the camera. Yes. And it's bizarre. I don't understand why it works, and I'm grateful it does. It's benefited me tremendously that it does. Yeah. But it's this weird thing of like, it almost feels like a shield where it's like somehow people are like, oh yeah, we'll let that person do their thing. Has it also been your experience that like you've had some grace with it?
Honestly, this is like the most major example I've had of this like thus far. I went to Haywire with my camera, like Haywire in Balmora, like 3 days ago or something. And I was like, I've never shot a show like that. Like, I've never been in a VFW shooting like a hardcore show. So I was terrified.
Those like sold out local VFWs are like the scariest, craziest.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, someone's going to kick my camera. Like, I thought it was all going to go wrong. And honestly, only one person tried to crowd kill me. And I was like, that's pretty good. Like, I'm watching them do their thing, and like I'm like, someone's gonna try to kill me, and no one tried to. Well, one person tried to kill me, but like it wasn't bad.
One out of 1,000 is pretty good.
Like he didn't end up hitting me, so it was fine. But it's so interesting, especially the Webster Underground, because like everybody knows me there by this point. So like I shoot Bearing Point a lot. They play there a couple of times.
Shout out to the homies, yeah.
Yes, I love Bearing Point. Yes. And like they'll have their pit going and I'm like in the front with my camera and like people are literally like if moshing gets hard, they'll like stand in front of me like Ian, oh my God, I can't think of his name. Quarantined. Okay. The new vocalist of Quarantine. Love him to death because if like he is in a pit and I am in a pit, he will protect me. Like he will stop moshing for me and like actually stand in front of me and protect me. And like that's why I love metal because like so many people will do that. And I'm like so because I don't like being touched. Like I'm not here to get like beat up in the pit. I'm just trying to take my pictures. Yep. So it's very, I like that.
It's this bizarre dichotomy of it is a violent place where everyone is nicer than they've ever been. Yeah. And I still can't fully understand how and why those two things coexist. Like my best guess is that like there are people who are used to getting the short end of the stick in life. So when they see someone else in that circumstance, they're happy to go the extra mile for them. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was at a local show. It was a place called Point Beach Clubhouse, which doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. But it was equivalent of a VFW. And it was literally like at this beach, they had like, this was literally their store, like the chairs all summer. And we would just clear all the chairs out and go. And it was like a concert in a shed, basically. Okay. And it would get just insane. It was crazy. It was like the craziest shows I've been to this day. Yeah. And there's one band at the time who I will, happily tell you off air, but I'll leave the names for the moment. But they were known for being particularly violent. Like whenever they were in the pit, it was like, get out because they will... Yeah, it's going to be a problem for you if you're in their way. Yeah. And at one point, one of the guys like taps me and goes, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And pulls me outside. And it was like, oh, this can't be good. This is not a guy that I want to get pulled aside by. He's just the scariest guy in the whole world.
Yeah.
And he pulls me aside and goes, "If anyone ever gives you a problem, let me know." And it was one of those like, I don't know what you just offered, and I'm never going to take you up on that. But it's really cool that the biggest, scariest guy here in the universe was like, "I got you. You're on my team here, and no one's ever going to cross him, so no one's ever going to cross me." And it becomes a safety blanket to have in real time there.
Yeah. I feel like, especially because I'm a female doing this, like, I get so much like protection, like low key protection. The one time I've ever been crowd killed at a show, like they took him down. Like instantly that man went to the floor. I don't even know what happened. Like I got crowd killed and everybody just like mauled this dude. And I was like, cool.
I didn't ask for this, thank you, I guess. But also we could have talked this out maybe.
Right. Yeah. Like appreciative. Trust me, I am. But it was a lot. But I had my camera in my hand. And like getting crowd killed when you have your camera in your hand is just a whole different type of aggravation.
100%.
Because like, don't hit the photographer. But then he tried to argue that I was like, I shouldn't have been in the front. And I'm like, I'm literally like hired by the band to shoot. Like, do you expect me to shoot them from the back of the room?
Yeah.
Anyways, but 100%. Like protection. It's very nice. Metal people are the best.
100%. Yeah. I still, like I said, I don't understand how they coexist, but I'm very grateful they do. And I'm grateful those people exist.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We successfully nailed our hour here. As we wrap up here, I like to chat about like life outside of music. So we've done everything about the camera here. Is there anything else that you're like, any hobbies that you're into, anything else outside of music that you have a passion in? Like, are you a sewer? Are you a cook? Are you a chef? Do you like hiking? Like, what is a part of Mia that we have not chatted about in the last hour?
Honestly, there isn't one.
Beautiful.
My whole like existence is all just like school, work, music kind of thing. So it's just a lot of that. Like I love to branch out into other things and other hobbies, but like right now I love music so much that I'm just like sticking with it. Like that's my thing.
That's beautiful. That's the way to do it. And I think there's always a sentiment of like you can't have a plan B kind of thing. And I think people forego other interests. And I think what that really means is like when you don't have a plan B, you know that plan A is the right path for you. And I think as you say that, it's like it's a good thing. And not that you can't have other side hobbies, not that other things can't be interesting. But it's like when people talk about not having a plan B, they're not saying like, hey, quit your other interests. It's like, no. Find the interest that stands out above everything else and calls your name so loudly that you don't give a fuck about the other little hobbies anymore. So I think that's an interesting answer there. Cool. And then my last question here for you is what's something you're currently learning? So in the context of shooting shows, in the context of trying to get better at this thing, is there like a certain editing thing you're trying to work on? Is there a color grading thing you're trying to work on? Is there a composition that you're interested in? Is it getting into long exposure stuff? Like what is something that you're currently trying to learn and improve on in the photo art?
Honestly, the biggest thing for me that I'm trying to improve on is like my pictures are very like, this is a picture. Like this is what I saw. This is the picture. And I'm trying to expand into like getting more creative with it. I'm not a very creative person, so it's really hard for me. But I'm like, I need more. So it's just trying to like do fun things with like the lights and like things like that. I would probably say is the biggest thing. That
resonates with me as well. Like some of my friends do like all this abstract art. It's like, I don't have my brain isn't abstract. My brain is very literal. It's like, this is what I see. This is what I like. Here is what it is. And I think it's also, to me, it's like, that feels like the most relatable thing. Like, I think to me, the goal of a photo is like to put someone in my shoes. And in my brain, if I make it abstract, then I'm abstracting their perception of what I did. And I feel like the most direct way to communicate what I experienced is to keep it as close to what I experienced. And of course, you're enhancing, you're trying to make it brighter. Trying to make it the best version of what it could have been. But my brain's wired the same way, that sometimes getting the abstract stuff is a tough leap, or it was a tough leap, especially as I first got into it. And had to branch out, right? Because I think you take so many photos and go, okay, I have no choice but to try something else because I've done this thing enough times that there has to be another step somewhere to go find. Beautiful. Mia, I appreciate you coming on here. Where can people find you on social media? Where can they follow you? Where can they hire you for work?
Pretty much Mia P Photography on Instagram. You can search my name on Facebook. I don't use it. Probably don't hit me up there.
Is Instagram then the best place to contact you?
Instagram for everything.
Cool.
That's my place.
Cool. I believe you have a website up as well?
I do have a website.
Awesome. And that's your portfolio. Where can people go find that if they want to check out your work as well? Where can people, what's the URL?
This is going to be terrible.
That's okay.
Through my Instagram.
Cool.
I don't know.
It'll all be there. Yes, there. All the links will be there below. It's funny. I ask that question every week, and every week I like say it, and then in my head go, I'm not sure my Instagram is right now. Like it might be Peter JT Media. It's Peter JT Photo for a lot. I think it's media, but I don't know if there's a space or an underscore somewhere. Like, I really don't know. So if you're interested in Mia's work, it'll all be linked below. It'll all be present. Mia, thank you for making the trip out here. It was a blast talking to you. I look forward to seeing your growth here. Where the first year feels like it was very busy, and coming years are only going to be busier than that.
Yes,
so I look forward to it. Of course, yeah. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it this far, I just made a huge noise here by touching the microphone by accident. But if you enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all these things that I hate asking for, but do help. And it's a small enough show that, yeah, a single like still does help. So please check it out. Go support Mia. Have a great day. Beautiful. Episode 92 from everyone. Mission accomplished.